In 2004, I landed my dream job. The Arts Council for Monterey County was actually really familiar to me. I was already a performer in the schools, and they had helped me so much get First Night Monterey off the ground. So you can imagine, I was just so excited. I could do even more as the executive director. But there was a catch. It was a big one. First, I had to save the budget. I had to save the agency. I had to save the whole idea that the arts had any value at all. So I got to work right away. But first, there were so many things to deal with. The budget was really formidable. The California state budget deficit was $40 billion, and the county was $44 million. How could I justify public funding for the arts? How could I justify support for the arts in such a time, in such a crisis? But I knew I had to try, and I knew it would be worth it. It was important to support music, dance, drama, and the visual arts. All of them so important to everybody. But we just needed to know more. So the first thing I did was take stock of the people around me. I had amazing board members, and I had avid supporters, but it had been a tough year, and I was worried they were tired. Worse still, I had to also think about all the people who really didn't care, who didn't really support the arts, not right then. They felt that the arts were fine, you know, for people who like that sort of thing. You've heard that. And they felt maybe the arts were over, that the arts were frills. But I knew different. So I started to work, and I started to think about what we would do. But as I really dug into my ideas and my strategy, we had some setbacks. There were so many problems to deal with. We just got rid of them one by one. But the most painful, the most difficult was the calls I started getting from the art teachers in the schools of our region. They were getting layoff notices, they were taking early retirement. They were doing anything that they could to escape the endless process of the budget cuts of the prior years, of the pressures, the unrelenting pressures of No Child Left Behind. They asked me, could I help? Could I do anything? And I just didn't know. I had no idea, not then. So by that time, if you were me, you might have run away screaming, or you might have at least walked away mad. But I couldn't do it. I had so much to offer. I had so much I wanted to do, and these arts were so important to me. So when I get into a place where I'm just starting to feel overwhelmed, I think of my grandparents, and maybe you do too. They have gone through so much more than I ever will. My grandpa, you can see, he has wild and crazy hair, and he has wild a look in his eyes all the time. But he was so amazing, and we loved him, and he inspired our whole family. For my brother, it was all about the sacrifice that Grampy made to make a better life for his family. But for me, it was all about the magic. My Grampy painted scenes of Ireland just from his memory. And he didn't have canvas, so he used wood, and he used clamshells that he just found. He could take a piece of paper and cut out a horse just without drawing a line. So he taught me early and often about the magic of the arts, about resilience, and about moving forward anyway. And so I still was ready to get to work. It was so important to just keep moving. I started to think first of law enforcement, my friends in law enforcement from my first night days. I went to a conference where it was the state attorney general who addressed us all and said, we can't make people feel safe, and we can't make them safe on our own. We need programs like yours. That was all I needed to feel like we were on the right track, and we just kept moving ahead. So at that point, I was ready. I scoured the internet. I ransacked our files, looking for evidence, looking for whatever it would take to make the case for the arts, even during times, maybe especially during times of crisis. And we kept going. By the time that I called everyone, we were so ready. When we went to the Board of Supervisors and talked about the value of the arts and how important it was to keep moving and to keep supporting the arts, we won the day because everyone who came with me talked about the value, talked about the transformation that was happening through their programs. Little children learning the value of perseverance and teamwork as they practiced for their next big show. Teens learning to look at things in a new way, learning new skills while they worked on murals and mask making. Families coming together in big groups to preserve and to share their cultural heritage in a format, in a way where everybody could be welcome. This was marvelous, and it won the day. But I think more importantly, it won the argument that the arts are the answer. This was just beginning to dawn on me at the time. After all our struggles, after all we went through, the arts were the answer. And eventually, things did get a little easier, and we started gaining traction. We had a press conference once when we were launching an action plan, and one of our supervisors came. He threw out my carefully crafted statements because he had his own story to tell. He looked at everyone, as I'm looking at you now, and he said, "When I got back from Vietnam, I was angry. I was isolated. I was adrift. But somebody dragged me into a drama class. They made me take on uncomfortable roles, and I learned. And eventually, I found my voice, I found my calling, and I found my direction. It's hard for me to imagine now a better return on investment. The arts are the answer for so many different areas of our life: healing, breaking through, moving forward. When scientists are looking at our brains, they're learning more and more the ways that the arts have value for our lives in every possible way. For example, when they tried to figure out what part of the brain is engaged when people are listening, just listening to music, it's the whole brain. The whole brain lights up. That has so much value for what people are doing in the field. So when doctors and assistants were trying to figure out how could they help our veterans with traumatic brain injuries, they realized that music had a way of letting the unaffected parts compensate for the parts of the brain that were healing. When we took a look at what was happening in a program of youth who were in schools where everybody there was on probation, we had a wonderful art program, and we asked the boys, and we asked all the students, what do the arts mean to you? What do these classes mean to you? The boys talked about healing. They said, rest, a break from my problems. A girl in the back, she talked about a breakthrough. She said, what we learn is just because you make a mistake doesn't mean you throw it all away. This was so important for all of us. The arts are about breaking through. Did you notice that not even a grocery store will set up in a place that's desolate or in decline? But the artists will go. They'll go and they'll breathe new life into the whole place. At another conference, I met Lily Ye, and she was so amazing. She has taken a dangerous and decaying neighborhood in northeast Philadelphia. She started with one wall, one set of mosaics, and it has grown over the years into an extraordinary group of buildings, block by colorful block. She has community services, gardens, and art making throughout the area. As we move forward, we can see that the arts are the answer, even in economic development. Our cultural tourists are the A+ visitors. They're the ones who come, they stay longer, and they spend more, and they take better care of our environment. If we look at the businesses that are coming online next, in the creative industries, the creative tech is creating jobs that weren't even there before. And every single job of the future is going to need people who have empathy, who are creative, and are willing to innovate. They have imagination. So what does that mean for those schools? We need every school to have the arts. We need every student to have access to 21st century skills. And the studies are there too. The research is showing still, in schools that have somehow maintained the arts and schools that invest in the arts, they're finding the students remember more, they have better behavior, and the parents are more engaged. This whole school is vibrant, and that's what we need to see in our schools. Whatever you are doing, whether you're working or you're playing, the arts are the answer for breaking through and for advancing. And I really think that the arts could be the answer to saving our planet. I know the climate scientists are pretty nervous about their inability to convey a sense of urgency. But when we had a program that brought the artists into the schools and community centers to talk about what's at stake, what's changing, and what's next, and created exhibitions, they were able to show that the students and their families not only learned what to do, but could promise and make a commitment to how to make the great next steps. So I think Leonard Cohen has said it best when he said, there's a crack. There's a crack in everything, but that's how the light gets in. And I hope you'll take that to heart, that we don't have to be perfect yet. We just have to embrace the arts. We have to allow that process to be a part of everything. And I hope you'll think of your big question, because I want to help you find the right partner, because I believe so much that the arts are the answer, and I hope you can see it too. Thank you.